All right, and I will hit the start in just a second. See how this does. In three, two.
Morning, guys. I'll get to the point right away.
I'm
retiring.
Is past the
For good.
rock.
Thank you guys for allowing me to live my absolute dream. I wouldn't change a thing. Love you all.
E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
Oh, come on. I pay so much money in taxes already. Where's that going?
Well, they use that money to open up the Eagles' new practice facility.
That makes sense. That's kind of a no-brainer. We can't have our guys out there twisting ankles.
Yeah, a man of Shady McCoy's abilities. He needs a proper landing strip.
Gotta get our maniacs in green set up in a nice facility.
Sophie's choice, huh? Oof. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I just want to thank God, man.
Burrow hit my ass! Woo! It's Mahomes' house!
Hey, first off, like I said, I want to thank God, man. He healed my body this week.
Hey guys, I'm Donovan McNabb. I play quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm here to tell you that you can too if you start every day with a hearty breakfast from McDonald's. Like the new sausage, egg, McGriddle value meal, available now for a limited time for under $5. Remember guys, real champs, eat at McDonald's. I'm loving it.
I hope that your last mediocre season was worth your marriage.
This is past the rock.
I'm sorry. That was a lot. But, you know, what did I... Show me the lie. Show me the lie.
If you're some man, what the rock is.
I'm in live from count 'em, 3 locations. This is Past the Rock. I'm Patrick, and as always, I'm joined by 2 great men, Jacob, aka Bethke.
Present.
And Caesar, aka LCs.
What's up, y'all? Fly, Eagles, fly.
Gentlemen, it's a weird week in the sports world. The NHL and NBA near their all-star breaks and trade deadlines. The NFL is taking its last week off before the big game, and the trucks have not quite left for spring training. All that said, we do have a decent amount to cover still with last week's conference championship games. I believe we're going to get into the NBA's Western Conference and trade rumors and things like that, whatever else pops up along the way. So, without further ado, allow me to pass the rock over to Caesar.
Gentlemen, it is a beautiful week. Past the Rock has one representative in the Super Bowl, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles. That was an ass-kicking, but it was also a weird game. 100% one of the weirdest games I have ever seen in my life. And, we also have the Kansas City Chiefs outlasting Cincy. But let's just go ahead and get started with the Philadelphia Eagles, shall we? Since they are the lone representative of our podcast, sort of. All right, guys. For those of you who did not see too much of the game, let me just start off by saying that the weirdest part about this entire sequence of games...
Sorry, best I have.
I appreciate that. Oh, man. Is Brock Purdy having an injury where apparently it knocked him out the game, right? Elbow injury. I think it was on the 4th pass of that first drive or the second drive for the San Francisco 49ers. Out comes Josh Johnson. Which, if you've never seen Josh Johnson's career teams played for, it's a ridiculous number. I want to say it was 13 teams in 10 years in the league. If I'm not...
I was floored by that, bro. I floored. I was like, no fucking way, Josh. I guess he was the backup last week too, and I just didn't notice. Obviously, it wasn't needed, but I just died. I was like, there's
real journeyman.
That's the truest sense of the word.
Like in the way you have to be really like you kind of have to respect his hustle a little bit. Like this isn't like Fitzpatrick where like he kind of comes and goes and as a starter as well. Like this dude has just been. It's like Chase Daniel, but in a very harder Chase Daniel role. Chase always got to kind of hang out at places for a few years.
Yeah, this guy does.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't get to spend much of any time with anyone. All right, so I'm gonna read you his career history just real quickly. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2008 to 2011. Joins the San Francisco 49ers practice squad in 2012. Gets cut. Joins the Sacramento Mountain Lions of the United Football League.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then as soon as that ends, he goes to the Browns, and that same year, the Bengals the next year, back to San Francisco in 2014 as a practice squad guy, then the Bengals in 2015, but also a Jet in 2015, a Colt in 2015, and a Buffalo Bill. He was on what, 4 different squads in 2015. 2016, he was a Raven and a Giant. In 2017, he was with the Texans. The very next year, he played for the Raiders and the Redskins, now known as the Commanders. 2019.
It'll always be a football team to me.
Fair enough. He was a San Diego Fleet of the Alliance of American
USFL?
Football.
Oh, the
AAF.
AAFB.
Yep, the AAF.
Oh, how could we forget?
Right, and then hold on, it continues, gentlemen. He was a Detroit Lion later that season for their practice squad. The very next year, joined the Los Angeles Wildcats of the XFL.
Mm-hmm.
And then a San Francisco 49er in 2020 and 2021, and that's a practice squad designation. Was a New York Jet in 2021, a Baltimore Raven in 2021. And then this year, he was part of the Denver Broncos and the San Francisco 49ers. That is a hell of a journey.
It sounds like he's a top 200 quarterback in the world.
I mean, that
Which,
is
it's pretty good, but,
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
there's only so many jobs.
Yeah, this guy's had one of the weirdest careers I've ever seen. And
I'm
he
proud of him
played
for sticking with it. It's badass.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And he he played in the championship game. His
first
playoff.
Why wouldn't you, I guess? Like, if they keep letting you.
I mean, you're not wrong in that regard. But yeah, he his first playoff game was a championship game for a Super Bowl contender. Probably had zero expectations of playing, and then he gets knocked out with a concussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough. Just to see that, and then they have to send Brock Purdy in, who can barely throw a football. Matter of fact, he didn't.
I don't think he attempted once more the rest of the game.
Yeah, he attempted one more pass after coming back in, completed it, and finished the game 4 for 4.
Yeah.
So
they pretty much ran like a 1920s offense against a 2023 defense. And it didn't. Well, I mean, it went how you thought it would go.
Yeah.
The one defense that I guess is the only other defense in the NFL that ranks as high as they do in most categories, right?
Yes. In terms
I don't
of
know that it would have mattered. Like, I don't know what defense. I mean, even the Vikings' bad defense, I feel like you're like, they're not throwing the ball. Okay, just load the box.
Yeah, that's the toughest place to feel like you've been stripped naked is in that championship game.
They don't have Adrian Peterson back there, I mean, McCaffrey's really good, but he's not running through 10 guys every single play good. That's a different kind of running back.
Yeah, and outside of his 23-yard run that he had, McCaffrey did not have a good day on the ground. So he had he had 15 carries for 84 yards, but if you take away that 23-yard run, just for this exercise's sake, I believe he would have had 61 yards.
So 4 yards.
Yeah. How many? Oh yeah,
4 yards a carry.
Yeah, 4 yards a carry. So good, but not great. And then after that, you just look at the rest of the team. Deebo Samuel had 6 rushes for -9 yards.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it was tough. The Philadelphia Eagles definitely got some breaks in this game for sure. From the Brock Purdy injury, which I'm gonna say this, even if he didn't get hurt, I don't think he's playing well.
I was gonna say even just getting Brock Purdy would have been kind of a break.
Yeah, I we saw how shaky he looked the week before, and then the week before. Like, he was going to turn into a pumpkin, and I think that was going to happen because the Philadelphia Eagles, if I'm not mistaken, had a pressure rate of 60% on San Francisco passing or dropbacks, which is a ridiculous number. Winning 60% of all 18 of them, sir. All 18 pass attempts that the San Francisco 49ers had, the Eagles got pressure on 60% of those dropbacks, which that is a crazy number. And yeah, I think the San Francisco 49ers still would have gotten their teeth kicked in. I just probably think the game would have been a little bit closer than 31-7. And even with that said, the Eagles didn't necessarily play a great game on offense. Jalen Hurts really struggled to throw the ball deep down the field. That shoulder is definitely still bothering him. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he was 3 of 10 on passes that went, I believe, over 15 yards past the line of scrimmage. And one of those was the not catch by Devontae Smith. Which,
I mean, I would say to be fair, he won't be playing a defense that good next week. So
we don't know, man. I mean, that Kansas City defense looked pretty good against Cincinnati. Although
they're all right, but I think 49. I don't know. I really think 49ers defense is a force.
It is a force, and it's definitely one of the standard bearers in the league this season, along with like the Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles. Like, those are some of the best defenses, although one of those teams didn't make the playoffs, clearly. But yeah, that catch by Devontae Smith that wasn't a catch, that leads me into this point that I wanted to bring up to you guys, and it's that Kyle Shanahan just seems to be snake bitten, and I think that's part of what started it, right? Because the Philadelphia Eagles had the ball first. They have the Eagles kind of not dead to rights, but they have them right where they can keep them from getting a touchdown. All you have to do is as you see this questionable behavior from the Eagles, which they're hurrying up. They seem like they just want to get the ball ready. It's 4th down. If you're Kyle Shanahan, you should throw the flag on that, because at worst, all you lose is a challenge and a timeout, or no, at best, right? And one of the best things that can happen to you if you lose, right? The challenge is you lose the challenge, you lose a timeout. It's not like Kyle Shanahan's very good at using his timeouts anyway. And at best, you force them to kick a field goal, and you keep the game manageable to start the game, right? But then you end up in a 7-0 hole, and clearly, nobody could have foreseen what happened to Brock Purdy. But every point matters. It's going to be an ugly game. You want to make sure you have your defense in the best position possible. And one of the best ways to do that is make sure the Eagles don't score right then and there because of that.
Yeah, you gotta pull 7 off the board anytime you can.
Exactly.
Or 6, sorry. That's 6.
Yeah, 6 on that one. But yeah, guys, I just wanted to ask you guys, do you think that Kyle Shanahan is snake bitten? Because it seems like for the exception of the year that they go to the Super Bowl, it seems like this guy just can't catch a break in any of his meaningful playoff losses.
I mean, I would say he's caught a lot of breaks to get to those games sometimes. I mean, getting there with Brock Purdy alone is pretty nuts.
But is that really catching a break, or is that more of him just?
I don't know that he's snake bitten, or if he's just around all the time because his team's really good. So it's just.
I think the question I see a lot of people talk about is the style of play the reason why there's so many quarterbacks going in and out of the lineup? Like, I've seen that question posed a lot on Twitter.
I don't know near enough about football X's and O's to know if they're doing anything that unique with the quarterback, but
it's just the use of running.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you outside of what he had RG3 in Washington, right? And then let's look. He had the Cleveland Browns in 2014. It was not. I don't remember who the quarterback. No, that was not Baker. I think that was actually Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, sorry.
Wrong. That was Manziel.
Wrong party boy.
I'm pretty positive that was the Manziel year.
If
And
not, it was Whedon, right?
Whedon.
It was Whedon before Menzel.
Yeah, Whedon was definitely there before Manziel.
Okay, yeah.
But you know what? We'll look this up real quick. Thankfully, we can edit this, and so nobody knows that I'm searching for it. The 2014 Cleveland Browns quarterback room consisted of, let's see. Yeah, he had Brian Hoyer, Johnny Manziel, and Connor Shaw. So not a great,
Tough.
yeah, not a great room right there. But not guys that outside of Johnny, not really guys that you would consider runners. At least I wouldn't consider them runners. And then he had Matt Ryan for 2 years in Atlanta from 2015,
Got him to
2016.
the Super Bowl.
Got him to a Super Bowl. And then his time in San Francisco, he really, outside of Trey Lance and Brock
The first
Purdy,
half of that Super Bowl, he did really well.
he did. And then it all came spiraling out of control after that.
He couldn't run the football, and now San Francisco just runs the football into the ground forever and ever.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, he runs his running backs into the ground, but not necessarily his quarterbacks outside of that 1 year with RG3.
And then the Kaepernick stuff's weird. I
mean,
still don't really fully know
He wasn't
why
there for
Kaepernick. He wasn't there for the last of that. I thought.
So he came in
No,
2017.
You're right.
Yeah, so he came in the year. So yeah, he did not retain Kaepernick that year, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I guess with the system, I guess it's less to do with like putting the quarterbacks in danger, and it's more just making the most out of a mediocre quarterback. Look at Jimmy G. He's had plenty of success with Jimmy G. He got Brock Purdy to be 7-0 prior to the NFC Championship game. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would have to look more into what he does with his quarterbacks, but it seems like he doesn't ask them to do too much. If anything, I think that was the whole idea behind getting Trey Lance, was to get a guy who can physically do anything that you need your quarterback to do within the structure of how he wants his offense ran, right? At least I think that's the case with that. But yeah, no, I think a lot of his, if he's not snake bitten, it's just the guy can't get out of his own way in some instances, right? With his management team, with just some of the decisions when it comes to QB, right? Sticking with Jimmy G, it helped out early in the season, but man, there's already reports coming out that him and Jimmy G are going to split, right? That's 49ers are not going to bring back Jimmy Garoppolo.
He said it straight up to the microphone.
Yeah. He right to the mic said Jimmy G is not going to be back here next season, which kind of leaves the 49ers in this really weird spot. Like, where do you go from here, right? Like, Trey Lance is coming off an ACL. Brock Purdy, we don't know what's wrong with his elbow. There's been some speculation that it could be he might require some Tommy John surgery.
Morning, guys.
Or yeah, there you go. He can go. Kyle Shanahan can go and knock on Tom Brady's door and be like, "Hey, I know you can't get Giselle back, but you can get into this 8th ring. Just a suit up for your hometown team, you know."
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know how long Lance is to come back, right? 'Cause I don't expect him to be ready for the start of the season. Week 2?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it was. So he only played 2 games. So it was in week 2 when he got hurt. Blew out his ACL, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it let me see. I'm looking at this right now. He also had another surgery on his ankle.
His ankle, right?
Yeah, it was his ankle. Yeah, so it was a season-ending ankle injury. So he might be ready for the start of the season, but the dude is just so inexperienced as a quarterback. So in college, he only played 19 games in college, right? And in the NFL, he's only played 8 games. That's not a lot of football, man. Like, that guy is as raw gets. for any sort of a prospect, let alone a guy that you entrusted your franchise with, right? And they
made
gave
the
up.
move for him.
They made the move for him, but it was it was expensive. But like, I don't think a lot of smart teams care nowadays about how much resources have been tied in to the quarterback position. They will move off of a guy if they feel he is no longer the future. Like, for example, look at the Philadelphia Eagles.
The Rams did it.
Yeah, the Rams did it. The Eagles did it with Carson Wentz. Matter of fact, I alluded to this in one of our group chats, but like, if it wasn't for Carson Wentz having Finn, the Eagles probably wouldn't be here right now. They would probably be 9-8.
You want to say that again?
Yeah. If Carson Wentz didn't have Finn,
sorry, you cut out.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I was saying that if Carson Wentz didn't have thin skin, the Eagles would not be where they are today. Especially so when they drafted Jalen Hurts, guy got very insecure, very upset. Saw Jalen Hurts, this guy who had hella questions surrounding his ability to be a pocket passer or just a half decent passer in the NFL. Made him feel so insecure that he forced his way out of town, went to Indianapolis, and then stunk up the joint. And then is now in Washington and is probably not going to be in the league next season because I just don't see him wanting to be a backup for anybody. But that's not necessarily part of this exercise here.
Jets.
It's more about what's up on the Jets. Oh, dude, oh no, there's no way. There's no way.
The New York media before he goes.
It's incredible the black hole that is that offense when that defense is so good right now. Yeah. Well, are they that good though? They played really well at the beginning of the year, but the back half, I don't know if they were just broken by the offense or if they just maybe got exposed.
I mean, I think at some point you're broken by the lack of faith that you have in your offense to put up any sort of points.
You see it all the time. I think you see that in the Cowboys defense. I think on the opposite side, you see that in the Vikings offense sometimes where it's just like,
hell, you saw it. You saw it in the San Francisco game. Like that was
give us a break.
That was a really good San Francisco defense that gave up 31 points. Like, I know that the offense couldn't put up any points, right? Because they were so handicapped. But shit, like they held the Dallas Cowboys to 12 points the week before, right? Like, in theory, you could have expected something similar from the San Francisco 49ers defense. Maybe not 12, right? But 31, I don't think anybody saw 31. I sure as shit didn't see 31 coming up. But yeah, I mean, I guess this all just kind of goes to one thing that I wanted to ask you guys, because I assume that you both watched the game for at least the majority. Have y'all ever seen a game this weird, like this? Watching the quarterback get knocked out, and then later on in the game, Fred Warner looks like he's hurt. Nick Bosa looks like he's hurt. And then there's just some weird calls here and there and just some poor mismanagement. Like, have you ever seen just a game spiral out of control so early on for what a lot of people assume to be a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, honestly, it was the moment that I was like, I think this is all the proof that I need that whatever force Jerry Jones pissed off, it's directly trying to make sure that it squeezes every bit of revenge out of him. Like, it's like, we're going to make this as easy as possible for this really talented Philly team, and it's just going to keep going their way. And you're going to think it's not, and it's just going to keep going their way. That's how I took it.
Yeah, except he misses that point entirely, so it's lost on him.
I know it's lost on him. It's not lost on me, is what I'm saying.
Do you think it's lost on the rest?
I don't know if you heard that he was like saying that the Eagles went all in like the Rams did.
And the question was framed to him like that too. So there was a lot of people at play for spreading a narrative that was not at all true. But yeah,
is that not how he said that?
No, yes, him and the media people that he was working with were trying to spin something that was not the case. But no, anybody who like I think even eventually David Hellman saw it and at that point blasted him and was like it was like yeah, really going all in. They have a fucking top 10 pick next year and more salary cap space.
Yeah, I saw that. I was just like Jerry Jones. I didn't see how the question was framed. I just looked at what he said and I was like, "There's no way that he believes this, right? There's just
I wish,
he can't be that out of touch."
I wish I remember the exact quote, and I bet if I go back, I probably have the audio from other dumb projects. But there was a McCarthy thing where he's talking about he's talking to media about Jerry, and he's like, "Y'all just y'all don't know which Jerry are you talking to when you're talking to him, you know?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are you talking to owner? Are you talking to CEO? Are you talking to marketing Jerry? Are you talking to GM Jerry? Are you talking to head coach Jerry? There's a lot of Jerrys in there.
Schizophrenic Jerry. I think that would explain a lot.
All right. I have the full quote here.
It's long, bro. I don't know if you want to do all that.
No, it is long. There is one thing though that I wanna read out.
Fair.
And it's this, and it's like, I like where we are right now, more in the middle, Jones said. Like, there's no way. No way he doesn't understand what he's saying right now, right? Like,
yeah, I told you guys the just hit the hardest this year.
Some of those phrases are pure filler for him to jump from idea A to idea B while he's trying to think what idea B is. So that middle comment or whatever, that doesn't mean anything. That's just words that he's using to
fill
the sentence.
Yeah, but see, the common Cowboys fan's not going to just accept that as just, oh, that's just Jerry saying things. A lot of them are going to, what is he talking about? Someone get him out of the GM role, which, of course, then we have to have that whole conversation of he's not actually like the GM, he's just the GM in title. But
he's 1/3 of a GM. That's the best way somebody.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
He's
It's not 0%. We all know it's not 0%. I think it's a smaller percentage now than it was even like 3-4 years ago. But
yeah, I would say 1/3 is the fair way to look at the Cowboys' brain trust.
I would say that the way they keep talking about Zeke, he's still got some percentage. Jerry's still got some percentage in there.
Hey, don't talk about my new fullback like that. This isn't, you know.
Right. This isn't Cowboy talk.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the teams that played last week.
All right. Yeah. No. Let's go back to this. So, I want to switch things now over to like the Eagles' perspective and the Eagles' view of this game. I wanted to say this about Jalen Hurts, real quick. I've acknowledged that he has surpassed all expectations of all Eagles fans, or most Eagles fans, I want to say. There was a loud but small contingent of Hurts believers in the beginning of the year. And I think it's a testament to this team, to the team building that took place in the offseason, that he could have a bad game, objectively a bad game, right? He started off, I believe, 7 of 8. Or no, 8 of 9. He started the game 8 of 9, finished 16 of 25, and was really bad with his down the field passes as the game wore on. And the team still won by 24 points. That is a hell of a way to build a roster. That your quarterback, who the entire offense runs, like, just is built around. Like, there's no buts about it. We saw the 2 games of Gardner Minshew, and we saw like what his limitations were and how the running game could not get going with him under center. And for Jalen Hurts to not even have a good game on the ground either. He had 11 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown. But all in all, he was just not very effective. And still, that offense put up 31 points. I think that the Eagles showed why they're the best team in the NFC. But it is a little concerning going forward into the Super Bowl that Jalen Hurts has not had an impressive game in his 3 starts since returning from injury. So we all know that last game that he had against the New York Giants in the regular season was It was a vanilla game plan. They didn't really need him to do too much. And then the playoff game, again, he didn't do too much. They still put up 38 points. But against this Kansas City Chiefs team, he's going to need to be special. Have Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the ball. And what he did against Cincinnati, I would say, is one of the more impressive performances of the year. But yeah, I mean, I know you guys aren't Eagles fans, and there's some objectivity here within this podcast in terms of just seeing good players play, regardless of who they play for. But if you guys were in my shoes, right, would you be concerned going into the Super Bowl about Jalen Hurts and the fact that he has not looked good for the better part of a month?
Not really. Because honestly, like, yes, will I be rooting for your team to suffer a 70-0 loss? Of course I will.
Fair.
But in reality, in the objectiveness of the conversation here, I've said it earlier in the year. I know we've just started releasing these the way we have, but like, I love Jalen Hurts. Like, I can't even hate on this kid. Like, it's impossible to. I feel like even if the Eagles take a hard L in the Super Bowl, it's hard to even really be that frustrated with them because, like, I don't think that. I don't know how like great he'll be, like in terms of all time greats, whatever, depending on the stats you want to look at. But like that kind of looks like a really badass version of like a modern, I don't want to say it the way it's going to sound bad, but it reminds me a little bit more of like how the Tom Brady story began, just in the fact that like he's going to have to learn on the fly and get better while a good team supports him. But I kind of feel like he's got the work ethic and the intangibles, whatever it is, the will to continue to grow his game and then challenge to actually deserve to be compared to Tom Brady.
I like that. Yeah. And, one of our favorite Dallas media personalities, Jeff Kavanaugh, I remember him when he was still on the radio, or I guess he's on the radio again, but, before he had his little hiatus, he was asked about Jalen Hurts from a local perspective. And he said he had a lot of concerns about Jalen Hurts, the player that he was at the time, right? But like you mentioned, the intangibles that come with Jalen Hurts, the intangibles that he has shown, his leadership, his work ethic. Just if you ever hear a press conference from him, he just never sounds satisfied with where he is as a player, which leads him to come off as hungry, wanting to improve. I remember Jeff Kavanaugh said, like, if there's any player that's going to squeeze out every last bit of talent that their body has, it's Jalen Hurts. And I liked that at the time, but like I said, or like I've said in the past, in past podcasts, now that we're doing things the way that we are, and just you can go back on my Twitter feed and you'll see that I've had my doubts of Jalen Hurts, his ability to process an offense, and it's like, yeah, those intangibles are worth something, man, because it's like he's a new guy. His dedication to his craft has been so good, so admirable, that you just kind of forget that these were, whatever weaknesses that he had in the pre-draft process, his rookie season, hell, his first full season as a starter. You just kind of forget about that. I mean, some people won't let you forget about that for whatever reason, but you just kind of forget about that because the way he's played this year has been so good. And like you said, in terms of how good he can be, all-time QB rank, I'll say this: if he wins a Super Bowl next Sunday, right, and let's say he has a solid 8 years with the Philadelphia Eagles, right, like 8 more years, because we don't know necessarily how long that style of play can last, like what the longevity of it's going to be. He might just go down as the best quarterback in Philadelphia Eagles history. Like, because right now it's Donovan McNabb, it's Ron Jaws Jaworski, and then you could
Nick
argue
Foles.
Mike Vick. Yeah, Nick Foles. Listen, man, Nick Foles will forever be a legend, but he flamed out hard, not once but twice. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
He will always have a special place in every Eagles fan's heart. but I don't think any sensible Eagles fan.
What about Kevin Kolb?
Oh, fuck that guy.
Kevin Cobb. Where is he from? I've driven past his billboard outside his hometown before. It's somewhere in Texas. Doesn't matter.
Played in Houston. He played for the Houston Cougars. But I was
That's
so
hilarious.
mad. I was so mad when they drafted him that year. I was like, hey, yeah, like, let's get McNabb some help. No, let's just go get his replacement, who didn't even play that much for the Eagles.
I would put Vic above McNabb personally.
I mean, I
It's just
understand your.
because I don't like Donovan McNabb.
I understand. You've made your disdain for McNabb known, and it's so funny to me. But yeah, I would put
I'm
Michael
loving
Vick
it.
up there in the top 5 of Eagles quarterbacks. He's probably, for me, he's because I never saw Jaws play. For me, he's like two or three behind Randall Cunningham, because I've at least gone back and seen some Cunningham highlights and some of the more special plays that Cunningham had in his career. And I'm thinking, yeah, if Jalen Hurts wins a Super Bowl and has like a consistent enough career, he's going to be above all of them. But Patrick, you were going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you had a thought there for a second.
No, I was quoting the "It's Always Sunny" bit for fake Donovan McNabb
fair.
when he's doing the McDonald's pitch,
Sorry.
and he says, "I'm loving it."
Yeah, that's the bright side. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl last time, it was some pretty good It's Always Sunny Philadelphia content. So that's nice.
Yeah, I'm sure if they do it again, it's going to be something extra special.
I mean, there'll be an episode just because they're in it. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think they were I think the whole cast was at the Super Bowl the last time, if I'm not mistaken, or at least like everybody but Danny DeVito.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Right. But yeah, this game I think just showed how stacked this Philadelphia Eagles team is, and it kind of contrasts with how their opponent is actually built going into this game, where it's the best team versus arguably the best quarterback in the league.
Not arguable to me.
Yeah, I would say definitely the best quarterback in the league. And that just kind of transitions us right to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals game. And this was arguably this is also definitely the best game of championship weekend, just in terms of quality of play and then just the uncertainty of what the final result was going to be. Now, I have a couple of points here to mention. So Kansas City Chiefs outlast Cincinnati Bengals 23-20. Chiefs won on a last-second field goal in the game. And I think all this started in the trenches. Now, I brought this up last week. The offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals was going to be the biggest weakness. They had to face against two absolute units in Frank Clark and Chris Jones.
They missing both starting tackles?
They were missing the entire right side of the line. So they were missing Alex Kappa or not Alex Kappa. Sorry. They had Alex Kappa back, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot who the other two guys were, but there were two starters in the game. And yeah, it definitely ended up biting this team back. So let's see. They were missing Jonah Williams. Oh yeah, Jonah Williams and Alex Kappa. And then Lionel Collins was also gone for the game. So yeah, they were missing two tackles and a guard. Now I'll have to go back later to see who else on that offensive line was missing, because I feel like they were missing multiple starters throughout the year. But offensive line health issues have been plaguing this Bengals team all year, and just offensive line issues in general have plagued this team all year. And we saw it. Joe Burrow was under fire all night. I believe he got sacked 5 times in this game. Let's look that.
Sounds like Joe Burrow.
Sounds like a Joe Burrow game, right? And that was the thing. I thought, Joe Burrow was going to be a lot better in getting the ball out. But we saw him get sacked 5 times, picked off twice. And still, despite all that, had this Bengals team in striking position against this Chiefs. Saw that the offensive line issues plagued the Bengals, but if anything, injuries was really plaguing the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. They lost 3 wide receivers in this game. Kadarius Toney, Nicole Hardman, and Juju Smith-Schuster all left this game with various injuries. And they were really only left with Sky Moore, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Travis Kelce as their main pass catchers in this game. And Patrick Mahomes didn't blink, man. Going 29 of 43, 326, 2 touchdowns. He did get sacked 3 times, and it did look like late in the third quarter that high ankle sprain was finally starting to catch up to him. But man, it was wild to just think, yeah, this guy is playing with an ankle sprain, and it didn't look like it, right? Normally, when I think of a guy playing on a bum ankle, they're like hobbling around, hopping, not really getting too much juice on their throws. Could have fooled me. He had an absolute dot to Marquez Valdez-Scantling in the end zone. I was like, yo, okay. That's an elite throw that not a lot of quarterbacks can make on a bum ankle. And yeah, it was a back and forth. It was a back and forth battle, and I think that this was a not just a war of attrition, but I think this is a game that just really established the direction that these two franchises are going to be going into the future. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but the Kansas City Chiefs have 11 rookies on the active roster.
I love it.
This is a team that's supposed to be in rebuild mode, right? No Tyreek Hill. Their offensive line is still being kind of constructed year to year. They have Orlando Brown at left tackle, and that's apparently, from what I've seen from Chiefs fandom, not going well. And here they are, 14-3 at another Super Bowl, right? They are what? And their third. This would be their third Super Bowl in 5 years.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, I respect what the Eagles have done to some extent, taking as much hate as I can away. I respect what the 49ers have done, what the Bengals have done, the Bills have done. I don't respect what the Cowboys have done. That wasn't necessary. I just wanted to do it. But all of these franchises, even the bad ones, they're all competing against this dynasty, this true dynasty, this real force in Kansas City. It's not just the quarterback, it's not just the coach. It's the fact that they could do some shit like get back there with all those players. And they were a little crappy to start the season, and then otherwise they've just been railing people for the most part, or at least winning hard games.
Yeah, man. I mean, they absolutely destroyed the 49ers this season. And I mean, I believe at that point the 49ers were only missing like a handful of starters for the most part. Got 44 put on them. Right? I will say they did look a little rough because they struggled a little bit against the Chargers. They lost to the Colts that ended up being a dumpster fire. Tampa Bay they did end up beating Tampa Bay by 10 points, but it was close at some point in that game. They played a close game against the Raiders, which we ended up seeing was a dumpster fire as well. Yeah,
winning close games, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, yeah, there's some teams where it looks fraudulent, but for that Kansas City team, it's just like they got the boogeyman on their side, you know?
Yeah, and that it's impressive. I'm right there with you in saying that they are the standard that teams should be trying to meet in terms of just how they build around their franchise quarterback. Granted, it can be Pat Mahomes, right? There's only one of him, and it's safe to say he's probably going to be the MVP this season. Because if you take Mahomes out and you put, I don't know, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins, somebody of that level of quarterback, they're not 14-3. They're probably a 10 win team, a solid team, maybe 9-8. Like, you put him in there, he maximizes the weapons that they have. He accounts for the deficiencies that they have on offensive line. and the coaching staff can just make the most of those talents, right? Like Andy Reid, this is a true Andy Reid team if I've ever seen an Andy Reid team, where you don't necessarily have a star receiver. It's all just kind of receiver by committee. That was Andy Reid's kind of philosophy going in for the first couple of years of Donovan McNabb's career before they got TO. Realized that there's a ceiling to that. And thankfully for the Chiefs, I mean, they don't have to get a star receiver when they have the best tight end, the second best tight end in the league. If he's not the best overall tight end, he's definitely the best receiving tight end, just in terms of just pure pass catching.
You can just draft guys based off of speed because your quarterback just allows you to sort of have this extra cheat code. Like, how did they not get a hold to Tavon Austin at some point? You know, that's the real question.
Oh, fair. I mean, that's because they have Sky Moore now. They have Kadarius Toney.
Like I'm just saying, like all the teams that could have figured that out, it's just draft fast guys, put them on that roster. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they ended up doing with some of these guys like McCole Hardman, Sky Moore. I know they didn't draft Kadarius Toney, but shit, I mean, they have him now, right?
That was such a steal.
Yeah. Now we'll see what happens with this Chiefs team because they are banged up. I have not looked at the injury report.
You know, the syringe is going around the locker room before the game.
Oh, absolutely. I was listening to the New Heights podcast with the Kelsey brothers, Travis and Jason, and they called it vitamin T. That's what the.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're like, I love vitamin T. That's my favorite one. I'm like, oh, there we go. But yeah, let's look at the injury report that we have for this week, right? Nicole Hardman has a pelvis injury, has a chance to play in the Super Bowl. Juju Smith-Schuster out of practice this week with a knee injury, and then Kadarius Toney with an ankle injury did not practice. They also have L'Jarius Sneed that's questionable. He was a non-participant, and then Willie Gay was a limited participant in practice. So this is a banged up team going into this bye week that we have going on. But I don't count this team out at all. This is a team that has just been well coached and been put well together. I would argue, or not argue, I would say this Philadelphia team is more stacked top to bottom. And we'll do more of a comparison of a tale of the tape of sorts next week. But this Chiefs team, man, they've made the most of the talent that they have. Now, let's get into a little bit of the controversy that came into this game. Guys, you're the referee, right? It's a close game. It is tie ball game, right? You see Patrick Mahomes take off, try to get the first down. You see Joseph Asai extend his arm, light push, he probably, we can all agree that Joseph Asai didn't need to extend his arms, but the man was trying to make a play with the season on the line. Are you calling that? Are you calling roughing the passer or rough? Yeah, are you making that roughing call, that unnecessary roughness call? If you are that,
not thinking twice about it. It was a pretty easy call.
I think you have to. He's just so far out. I mean, it sucks. It really sucks.
And that's like one of my favorite players. I wanted him to be a Cowboy, like a motherfucker. He's a hell of a kid, hell of a player.
And look, the whole game isn't lost in one play.
I'll never buy that. Even with even the trauma I've experienced and just that, it's like, well, but then there's what about this and what about this? I think DeMarco Murray fumbling never gets mentioned because of Dez's catch, but it's just as important, right?
And the 2 minutes of time that would still be on the clock after.
Sure, but like that's if you're just looking at to blame from the Cowboys' perspective, where it's like, okay, but really we could have closed that game out in a bigger way if that fumble doesn't happen, blah blah blah, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but you're looking at it from your team when you're like your team, how this goes. Yeah.
No, you're definitely right on that. And I would, I'm on the same line of thinking with you guys. That's a call you have to make. I can understand why opposing fans aren't a fan of that, right? That's in the eyes of the casual viewer, that's a game-changing call. That adds 15 yards to the drive on top of the first down that Mahomes got. But hey, listen, that entire game had some questionable calls all throughout the entirety of that game.
I mean,
I
it's
think,
it's ugly, but is it? Wait. When did the Saints Rams no call happen? Was that a championship game?
2018, yeah.
That was a championship game, though.
Yes, sir.
I think so.
All right. Well, if that one will always be the champion, right? Like replacing that one will be very, very difficult, no matter how the refs try.
Oh, was it? If I remember, was that a no call or
Yeah, it was a blatant no call. It was a
Yeah.
hilarious no call.
And then they introduced the pretend we're going to allow you to challenge pass interference thing and then never overturn it.
Yeah, I love that. The NFL cracks me up, man.
the NFL?
But yeah, so I
Always-
just don't feel like this is that egregious. Or fuck, I mean, we just mentioned Brady. It's Brady's last game. I mean, his whole career begins on one of the most ridiculous
No calls ever.
no calls ever. So yeah, and one that they've walked back. Everyone's walked back. Even Brady has made a joke about it being a fumble.
Yeah, man, and that sent the one would argue that sent the Raiders organization spiraling. I mean, they did end up making the Super Bowl the very next year, but then they get blown out by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But
Yeah, because of poor organizational situation.
Yeah, I mean,
Not-
honestly, it's that one's.
Not changing playbooks, just not changing anything.
Yeah,
so,
I think Al Davis, rest his soul. I think that one will probably always be the GOAT of fucking yourself over from the meddling owner standpoint.
Yeah.
100%, dude. And also, I want to say this. This is something I've always wanted to compliment the Raiders. They made it to the Super Bowl with like the oldest wide receiving core ever. Like a 40-year-old Jerry Rice and like a 40-year-old Tim Brown. That's impressive. But
putting up numbers with Rich Gannon,
yeah,
MVP
man,
of the league.
that was a geriatric Raiders team that made it to the Super Bowl that year.
Was Rich Gannon the MVP that year?
I think he was the MVP that year.
That's hilarious.
Because the Rich Gannon thing there was not a long Rich Gannon run.
No. He is like the Josh Hamilton of quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like Hamilton may have had just a little bit longer of a run, but yes, that's a pretty good comparison.
Oh, definitely. Let's see. He 2002 MVP. He was all pro first team in 2000, 2002, four-time Pro Bowler from 99 to 2002. Yeah. It was actually that sounds like a how long was Josh Hamilton's run? Like 4 years?
Pretty much 08 to, well, did he start in 08 or 09? Or it might have even been 10 actually.
It's the end of 09,
No,
I think.
it would have definitely been the end of 08 was probably when he really started peaking.
Yeah.
Then it looks to me that Gannon had a longer run than Hamilton then.
Well, there you go.
There we go.
8 to 12, 2008 to 2012 probably.
Yeah, I forgot where Rich Gannon ended up bouncing around to after all that, but
so yeah, I don't know what happened after that, but before that, he was a chief. He was with
he was
Washington.
before. Yeah, he had a bunch of he was dreaming before.
Yeah, and he was on Patrick's favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's had to swim through there.
Is that where athletes go to just kind of disappear or have a resurgence in their career?
No, the whole place is just kind of nothing.
Is it
the basketball team's nothing. The hockey team's nothing. The football team is mostly nothing.
Hey, the basketball team is doing all right. More positive news. It's more positive than it's been in a while.
Okay.
You can't convince this jaded Minnesota fan.
You're gonna have to work really hard to get me excited about the Timberwolves.
Hey man, Anthony Edwards does it himself.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some good players. I just they've never proven to me that I should think about them at all. Until they
That is
do,
true.
I won't.
That is true. That is true.
Mostly just because I don't have time. I don't have time for all these sports teams.
Yeah,
It's a lot of them.
it is hard to keep up with everything, but we're trying here. We are trying. But speaking of trying, guys, do you think that the Bengals not try hard enough to take advantage of a hurt Chiefs offense? Because the way I saw it, the Bengals had a good understanding of what the Chiefs were doing defensively. It just didn't seem like they were executing, but I don't know. That's what I thought when I saw that. I don't know what you guys took away from the defensive performance from Bengals.
Felt like this was a reality of who the Bengals were, where they just were a pretty good team, still flawed, still heading in the right direction. But I think ultimately that's sort of what came to roost. Where even if it wasn't the prettiest deciding game, I do think that ultimately the better team won. And it's hard to convince me otherwise.
I feel like if they played 100 times, it'd be like 49, 49, and 1. Like, I feel like it's a toss up of what those two teams are going to put out there week after week. I don't know that it's just like I don't know that you could read into one game of like what did one team do to the other. I just think they're both really good teams. It was a good game.
Yeah.
But
No,
what I would say is if they got to play a series, I wish there's some alternate universe where we could do that with football. It'd be so cool. Because I would love to get to see like what Burrow and Mahomes how they adjust to defenses over multiple games like that.
you got to realign the conferences, and make them play each other in division. Listen, get rid of the Browns out of the NFC North and just slide the Chiefs in there. Missouri is close enough to Ohio. You can make it work. You can find someone else to be in the AFC West. Give the Los Angeles
Dallas. They got Dallas in the East. They can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
The Bucks were in the Central for the longest time, which is hilarious too.
And don't forget the Arizona Cardinals were in the NFC East. All the way out in Arizona, we had them playing against New York, Washington, Philadelphia, their closest opponent, the Dallas Cowboys.
I love that. Yeah, that was better times.
That's like
Houston got a team again.
When the Stars were in the Pacific and all of our games were in fucking California. It's awful.
Stay up for those
Start at 9:00. Yeah, like 40% of your season was out there.
Yeah, man, Pacific time's a real doozy. But yeah. No, I'm kind of almost there with you, Pat, on the idea of if you have these teams face 100 times, it's almost a 50-50. I would probably put the Chiefs at like 51-49. That number of times if they were to face off, how often they would win. It's really close. I would take Patrick Mahomes as the difference maker in this game. Although clearly Joe Burrow, I think, is I don't know if he's closing the gap, but he's certainly deserving of being in the discussion of the elite quarterbacks. I think I mentioned this last week or the week before, or prior to we switching the format of how we release the podcast. But Patrick Mahomes is in his own tier, and then the tier after that is like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, those guys. And it's fair to say that in that tier that Joe Burrow reigns supreme right now in that group, in that trio of guys. So the Bengals definitely have something to look forward to. I think they are ahead of schedule, and you could have said that last year too, with their surprise Super Bowl run. And I think next year we're gonna see a real, not to say that they weren't a real contender, but we're about to see what the real vision of this Bengals team is going to be under Joe Burrow. I think with another offseason, with some more moves made onto that, strengthening that offensive line and strengthening that defense as well, we're going to see maybe like this year's version of the Philadelphia Eagles, where it's stacked raw top to bottom. If they make the right team building moves, we'll see. Because that general manager they have, who also happens to be their owner, I don't think that gets talked about enough. Mike Brown, if I'm not mistaken, that's his name. He's a real cheap guy from everything I've heard about him historically. So we'll see if he wants to be aggressive, if he wants to make the moves to solidify the Bengals' place atop the NFL hierarchy. But yeah, that's gonna cover the NFC Championship game recap. I did want to bring some attention to the now retired Tom Brady guys. I know we've said this already. Like everything that can be said about Tom Brady has been said. But I just wanted to put out there. Thank God he's gone. I am sick of it. I'm tired of Tom Brady. I will forever be a Tom Brady hater. Nothing you can say can ever make me respect the guy. I can acknowledge his greatness, but fuck you, Tom Brady. And that's just for me personally. I don't know how the rest of the Pass the Rock hosts feel about that, but if you guys have any words to talk about Tom Brady, the floor is yours.
I'm just glad that my team won one fucking game. I don't even care that it was the last one. I'm just glad that it's not a 0. That's how I feel about Tom Brady.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hey, that last one is probably the most meaningful one.
Yeah, I mean it is because it's the last one allegedly, but yeah, I'm just glad, even if it's not the last one, I'm just glad it's not a 0. I'm tired of stats that people like to bring up over decades of periods of time, and that just felt like one that was never gonna go away. So it's like, it's still bad. Like it's still like 1 in like 8, right? Something like that, or 1 in 7, whatever. But like,
yeah, 1 in 7. Which, to be fair, that's not. I mean, it's not like the worst record. It's not like anybody viewed the Cowboys as a foil to Tom Brady at any point, like the Colts were when he was in New England.
If the Vikings ever win a Super Bowl, we'll be 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 or whatever in Super Bowls. So I'll take that. So
yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's better than goose egg.
Exactly. Trust me, it's seeing your team finally get one. You're just like, you kind of forget that they don't have a winning record in the big game.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. I think what some of the best franchises in the league don't necessarily have a winning record outside of like the New England Patriots. Because what the Dallas Cowboys have been to 8 Super Bowls, so they have a winning record, 5-3.
The Cowboys still have a winning. See, that's really Jerry's playing 5D chess. He doesn't want to get back to the Super Bowl or even the NFC Championship game unless he can win it all. Right? See, it's 3D chess here.
Oh my God, that's why he doesn't want to go back to the Super Bowl. Got to keep the pristine 5-3.
That's just Bethke's new rationalization.
Hey man, sometimes you need some something
another
to
year, another way to explain Jerry.
You have to do something to entertain yourself.
Yeah,
you know,
you get bored. Yeah.
You get bored.
How many times can you say Jerry Jones, the owner, needs to fire Jerry Jones, general manager, over and over until it sticks?
For real, bro. That shit got old when I was a kid, man. Like this past 10 years, I've just been ignoring it and trolling those people. What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? You're not gonna do anything about it. Shut up. It's over. Give it up. Just give up.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's over.
He'll die someday.
Steven's getting it. It's not any better, or maybe better, but not a lot. It's just get over it.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Get over it.
Yeah, I don't think it'll actually be better, man. Like the way that you describe Stephen Jones to me, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like it's gonna get worse.
I don't know, because I think Stephen Jones is smart. I think he's the reason why there's been a Will McClay.
Half of Steven's job is just making his dad feel good. So
yeah. And Steven's just a tight ass with money, and it's that fucking cap shit that gets annoying. He's really not that bad. He's really more likable, I feel like, but
but it's like
he gets so annoying.
If he's conservative with his spending, at some point you're gonna miss out on a window because you just don't pay some guys.
The problem is concern. It's at war with the fucking his dad just throwing money at everything.
That's why I'm like. That's why I fear he's an overcompensator for what Jerry's done. That's where I fear it really is that he's overcompensating for what Jerry did to us for all those years.
For the Zeke deal.
I don't even know if it's just the Zeke deal because I feel like he also did that. I feel like he can't sit here and be like, "Oh, that was daddy." I feel like that was you too, bro. So like I don't feel like that was a thing he can really brush off on Jerry alone. But the stuff early, like the late 2000s when it was just really excessive. Like I think the last one you can really blame is Carr probably.
Who was it this offseason? This last offseason that said that Steven presented him an offer and he was like, I'm going to talk to your dad, and then got a better offer. Was it DeMarcus Lawrence?
No, because Marcus Lawrence got paid.
Who got re-signed this year? I don't think anybody got re-signed this year, though. This offseason, though.
Someone would have had to have. There's no way nobody got re-signed.
If there was,
or was it?
like
I don't think it was anybody meaningful.
Oh, well, it might have been Gallup, I guess. It could have been Gallup.
No, it could have been like Lael or someone else who ended up leaving.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I'm sure that there's still some of that because, I mean, that's how Jerry operates. So you know it's going to happen. But yeah. Talking the boys.
Yeah.
They're retired. We're retired, the boys, for a week.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. And I think we're going to retire the NFL segment for this week, but I will talk about I do want to just briefly talk about what we're going to be covering next week, guys. What we're bringing to the next week's segment, we're going to be doing the tail of the tape, where we're going to compare, and I'll bring this to you guys later. But we're going to compare the rosters of both teams, specifically the starters, and just going position by position on who has the advantage. We're going to do keys of victory for each team. So what does the Kansas City Chiefs need to do? What do the Philadelphia Eagles need to do? And finally, our predictions for the game. So next week's segment will be roughly around the same length as this one was, although it's definitely going to be more specific. It's just going to be focused on that game. And then, yeah, after the Super Bowl, just for the audience to know, we will be talking about all the other things that's happened in the league, from the coaching hires. I know Bethke's going to be excited to talk some Broncos country. Let's ride. And the debacle that was that coaching hire or that coaching search.
And honestly, that already is started off my off season in the best form because, like, in another world, I'm looking at 2 of my draft picks going out the window right now.
Yeah, I mean, so Cowboy fans should take solace in the fact that they don't have to give up. I don't know what the Broncos have to give up for Sean Payton, but at least the Cowboys don't have to give that up, man.
2 firsts or something stupid like that.
Someone on Twitter said that Sean Payton is Mike McCarthy with a better PR team.
Yeah, for sure.
I was like, all right.
They pretty much have the exact same resume.
Let's look this up. Actually, I've been meaning to do this. Mike McCarthy. Let's look at his winning percentage as a head coach, because I'm sure it's something respectable. He has a regular season win percentage of .614. He's 155 and 97. So the guy right, he's clearly good in the regular season. His postseason record is but he has a Super Bowl. That's what matters. But it's 11 and 10. So,
that's not bad.
It's not bad. You have more wins than you have losses.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, like unless you win a Super Bowl, you're gonna have a loss every year. So
yeah, consistently going to the playoffs is very valuable in my opinion.
Yeah, the only other way to have a winning record in the playoffs, aside from winning Super Bowls, is if you're just in the wild card and you always win the wild card in your divisional round game.
I was gonna say
you have to get to the title game,
which they have. He did quite a few times in Green Bay,
and famously always losing to the 49ers. But yeah, let's look at the Sean Payton. 152 and 89 in the regular season, so he has a .631, so very similar records. And postseason, also, again, similar records. Sean Payton is 9 and 8 in the postseason. and he famously led the New Orleans Saints to 3 consecutive 7-9 years. I know Cowboy fans always complained about Jason Garrett being 8-8, but he never had. I don't think he had 3 consecutive 8-8 years, let alone
he did.
7-9.
No, he did. That was how it started.
Oh, I thought he had 2 8-8 records.
No, I'm pretty sure the first 3 years full.
There was a 5-11 in there somewhere.
That comes after the 12-4.
Okay.
If this is just memory, so y'all can check me if you want. It's 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, 12-4. Then there's the 5-11. Then it's back up to whatever the fuck Zeke and Dak and Zeke got 12 wins, I think.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So it was okay. He took over in 2010. Right?
I lived it. I know.
Yeah, 5-3 in 2010, and then from 2011 to 2013, 8-8, all 3 years. 12-4 in 14, and then there was that really bad 2015 year, 4-12. Then 13-3, 9-7, 10-6, 8-8.
Mm-hmm. Jason Garrett.
But yeah, in terms of just Mike McCarthy and Sean Payton, yeah, similar records all the way through. Like you're not. I don't think you're really getting an upgrade at coach like people want to tell you. Because Sean Payton, like every other head coach, has his own flaws. But yeah, we'll talk more about that the week after the Super Bowl, and hopefully by that time we get some more details on the shit show that will be the Denver Broncos' future under Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. Yep. But yeah, with that said, gentlemen, I'm gonna say one fly, Eagles fly. I'm gonna pass the rock to Bethke so we can talk some hoops.
That's the end of part 1 of this week's Pass the Rock. Tune in to part 2. Thanks. Bye. This is Pass the Rock.